Alright, hey guys, it's Joe B. Serious game. I'm here with the Fallout 4, but this is fun because I installed the, Fallout Vore pack with all kinds of add-ons that let you mess with the sizing of your character. Everybody wants a character with more muscles or more fat or bigger boobs, bigger butt, whatever. So I wanted to go over the settings because I didn't see anything that really indicated what was going on the inside settings. So this is the settings that I've kind of locked on after playing through for about 3 hours and just adjusting them. And let's go over what we got. This is of course with everything installed properly. So at this point I'm assuming that you've done everything in the correct load order and that you've got it available for configuration. But your Fallout Vore is going to be in the mod config. Your Fallout Vore here. First things first, you're going to make sure that your Preds is on. I'm just going to assume that this is all for female settings, so I'm just going to go off of that. But I have female Preds turned on. The scat doesn't need to be on to avoid the belly junk error, so don't worry about that. I turned off the heavy Preds because I didn't want to get slowed down when she eats stuff, but basically this is the character goes crazy and you have to like eat defeated characters, which is pretty cool. It's kind of neat. And let's see here, this controls the NPC stuff. These don't particularly, I haven't really perfected the controls on over the NPC, and quite frankly I really don't care what the companion looks like, but on Thick Vore, that's for the resizing. If this is turned off, she's not going to change size, so you have to have it turned on. Muscle to fat defaults at 50, and I found that to be just fine. It tweaks, if you put it more to fat, it'll tweak less for muscle mass, and if you put it more to muscle, it'll tweak less to fat mass. So you can tinker with that, but I haven't found much need to. These are the refresh rates for when your heads-up display for your settings in the upper right-hand update. And that's 2 and 3 for sated and hunger. So it's still going, but that's how often it checks back to show you the HUD update. The body settings refresh rate is important because what this means is every 5 minutes it's going to double check against your thick rating and then apply the body slider settings accordingly. This is the hunger loss, so if it's set to 0 you'll never get skinnier based on a satiated rate. If you set it to like -1, then that means I think it's like a 1% chance that if you're below 60% sated rate that you could lose weight. So I just set it to 0 because I didn't want her changing all kinds of crazy sizes. Restart timers, that's pretty self-explanatory. Now here we go, enable player weight change, that also needs to be on. The slider type is going to affect which sliders you get applying to your character. So there's the 3. I've got it to work with vanilla. I've been unsuccessful with atomic in a couple of attempts. The CBBE is the one that I prefer, and you have to have the CBBE installed for that to work. They're mirrored here with the companion, but I haven't even dove into the depth of that yet. Now this is the one that you're probably looking for, is the more sliders. So atomic, these are going to apply only to the atomic. So if you selected atomic under your character, these are supposed to be the ones that apply. The thin settings, if your character gets thinner, then this is going to be applied, so I skipped those. But the CBB is the ones that I've selected, so these are my numbers, and these are the ones that I couldn't find anywhere. Googling or whatever, I couldn't find these. So for how my character looks, when you see my character, these are the settings. Upper settings is the upper body, so I left that at 0 because I generally wanted that to be a little bit slimmer. Lower settings is going to affect the pelvis area, and it ends up extending the pelvic bone out a little bit too much, so I left that lower. Waist setting and hip setting. Waist setting, if you put that number up too high, it tends to be more of a plank rather than like a curved out hip shape. So I didn't go too crazy with waist setting, but you can adjust that in order to match up the hip setting, which of course is one of the bigger settings that you want to focus on if you prefer the pear shape. And so hip setting I set to 800. This I left at 0 because this actually affects the small size. Now if you go into the body slide, Body Slider has all these settings, so this is mirroring what's available. Like most of the ones that are available in Body Slide are shown here. There's a lot that are missing, but a lot of the important ones are here. This is the chest size, flat out. This is the actual size of the chest, so that's probably going to be one that you're going to want to play with. Now the fantasy setting, I've noticed that when you increase fantasy, it extends the forward motion of the chest size. So I wasn't too interested in that. I wanted it to be a more realistic look. Width size is actually extending the, stretching them to and beyond the shoulder width for the arms. So I didn't want that too wide on my character because I didn't want the arms themselves and the weapons to be hidden, but your characters may vary. Push-up setting, what that is if it's set to 0, the vertice that I've noticed is centered. So if the push-up setting is minus, if it's lower, then that's going to put it down, and then if it's higher, then it's going to bring it up more toward the chin. Perkiness, from the example that I've seen, that helps to actually increase the realism in dragging it down. So the perkiness is very important for a more realistic look. Chest depth, I found that to be like the side profile width. I didn't tinker too much with that. Calf setting is pretty explanatory. Now this is tricky. Chubby leg setting is the actual thigh and lower hip of where it joins into the butt setting. And I've noticed that in order for it to be equivalent, the chubby legs has to be almost double whatever you set your butt setting to. But the problem is then when you're running, that top piece of the thigh up at the very high part of the femur tends to poke out of the rear, so it's a trade-off. Chubby arms is the thickness of the arms itself right up at the top. 600 is what I've got here for mine. And then forearms is the smaller piece of the arm, and I prefer very small forearms. I believe SSB2 is part of the overall setting for the body slide. Now this is just the beginning. I've only played this for about 3 hours. I'm tinkering with these, but I wanted to show you guys the numbers that I've got. So if you're impatient and you just want to type these all in and go play instead of spending 3 hours, then hopefully this will help you. And then belly setting is the belly button, whether it's in or out, but that is also part of what will conflict with the actual Vore mechanic, so that's probably not going to be too much in effect there. So then, yeah, with the numbers that I've shown, this is the character as I've got it. I was somewhat modest about the upper torso area, and the Vault 111 suit is ideal for handling the body slide. I have not gone into body slide and done any of the meshes or messed around. I just wanted to play, so I didn't do any of the other outfits. The red dress there on Bria also works well, but the 111 is much better at handling all the vertices that CBBE has available, so I've just kept it because I just wanted to play and it looks great. So notice the upper arms there, those are set to 600, and then the butt was at 800, and those legs, those thighs that you see there, those are at 1400, so the number had to be pretty big in order to match up. And then the chest there was actually very modest. I think I always had that set to about 500 or so, with the fantasy setting very low. Now the Vault suit has that little point in there. I think there are add-ons that remove that, where it's an open Vault suit. But this was sufficient for me, and I was pretty satisfied with how it goes. The polygons on the armor plates, the left and right legs, they kind of hang out, poke out a little bit, so if you remove the armor plates, then it'll help to make the rear more slim. But this is actually pretty cool, and using the body slide and using these sliders, you can change your character all around. And it's important not to go too big, because then it starts to look crazy, and then too small, and you're not really getting much effect from the tool that you've installed. So hopefully this will pique your interest about some of the stuff that's available in the Fallout mods. I mean, I think it was pretty fun to stumble across this and be able to change my character around. I think the different sizes and weights should be available in the games by default, because people vary greatly and vastly in size and shape and color, and you really shouldn't be stuck with just the vanilla models. So a big thanks to CBBE and the Fallout Vore makers for making this possible, because this is pretty neat. Anyway, I'm going to play through like this with a couple of hacks, because this is on PC, this is not available for console, and so I've just given myself a lot of 5mm. I've been running around with a minigun. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, please comment below. Please let me know what your settings are and your experiences, and then Later on, I'm going to tweak and tinker with the CBBE body slider a little bit to see if I can get some other outfits looking a little bit more smoothly, and then put on some mods to see if I can change it up, something other than the Vault 111 suit. But for now, this has been pretty cool and a lot of fun just to go in and enjoy the Vore mechanic, where you beat up the characters and then you eat them. It's pretty funny. The last thing I wanted to point out was that I had come across the, as you're eating the characters, the body to full error message, even though the tummy was empty. So if you go into your menu and you go into, what is it, the mod config for the settings, and in here we've got the, what is it, main settings, and at the bottom it was for the hotkeys. So the hotkey I just set to my numpad, and then from that I just hit the numpad and it lets me open it up and it take the items out. So once it's empty, then you should be all good. Alright, this is Serious Joe B, having fun with all the modifications in Fallout 4. Alright, later.